New now, an ethics complaint against Kansas Republican governor candidate Ty Masterson is dismissed. The complaint was filed by former state senator Stephan last month. A copy of the order says that it was dismissed ahead of the August 4th primary. Leading up to the primary, questions surrounded Masterson's position as the director of Go Create, a Koch-funded creative makerspace on Wichita State's campus. Specifically, questions mounted over duties Masterson's carried out at Go Create and how much time he'd actually spent at the facility. The complaint that the senator filed accused Masterson of violating a state law that prohibits public employees from campaigning for office during time funded by taxpayers. Masterson chalked up skepticism concerning his position with Go Create to political attacks.